Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of your Cast. My name's Gary, and here I am once again. Welcome back. If you're not new around, if you're new around, please be welcome. Feel yourself at home, and let's just have it. It's a big honor and pleasure having you guys around me. Just one more time, one more episode. Again, thank you so very much, ladies and gents. Well, I'm gonna go over a topic that is one of the things in this world that triggers my curiosity the most. And let me tell you guys, I'm a Gemini, so I'm a pretty curious person by nature. But this, I'm not gonna say numbers. Oh, this is the number one, number two, but it's certainly top within the top. It's certainly in the top five of the things I'm more curious about because, well, just putting it simply, there isn't, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I understand, there isn't a logical explanation of that. And, well, which doesn't mean there isn't any explanation to that. I said that there isn't any logical explanation to that. That's different, right? Okay, I'm not gonna try to make any mystery here because you read the title before you click you click into this episode. You click play button. Yes, cloning. Well, probably the first thing that pops in your mind, the first thing you think is, well, isn't it something that only exists in movies, in sci-fi, in fiction, you know? In heroes movies or Japanese cartoon or whatever. Well, yes, but not only there. Maybe if you're young enough, you won't remember, you won't know, and by extension, you won't remember. But we had a very famous cloning case involving an animal. Yes, I'm talking about a sheep named Dolly. So, name worldwide known as the Dolly the sheep. It was an actual clone, a real clone, made from the cells of the original Dolly, and yeah, so it is a reality. But the question I'm going to go after here, I'm going to explore or try, as they say, give wings to my curiosity, is why is it that we aren't seeing any humans around, any human clones around? All right, apart from fiction, of course. we even had a pretty famous soap opera in Brazil called The Clone, but that like 23 years ago, more or less. But other than fiction, we are not seeing humans being cloned around. And the other question, the one that is even more intriguing to me, isn't it possible that maybe behind the curtains, we are they exist, the clones? I mean, behind the curtains. Why do I say behind the curtains? Because, well, maybe for some reason we're gonna read a little about. We're gonna read a little of the answer, some of the answer that ChatGPT gave me when I asked him about the possibility of existing human clones, human beings cloned. You know, but behind the curtains, maybe they exist. The clones, the human being clones. Wow, that's my wondering. That's my question. And another question which kind of coexists with the second question is that actually possible? Because when we look at it from a spiritual perspective, which is my thing, I mean, when I say my thing, I mean that I believe in spirit. So I believe we're not only made of flesh and bones, we're not only the physical matter. So, in other words, I believe it wouldn't, because of that, it would be impossible to clone human beings, okay? And more than that, maybe this is exactly the reason and the only reason why we haven't seen human beings around. I mean, clones of human beings around, of course. We have seen a lot of human beings around. What we haven't seen were human being clones around. That's what I meant. But I'm getting ahead of myself, just as usual, ladies and gents, so you can have a big proof that it is really me and not a clone or an alien talking through my body. I was actually abducted, and no, it's really me. So I'm getting ahead of myself, and I forgot saying, go grab your cup of coffee, tea, beer, water, whatever it takes for you to relax and join me in this one more, hopefully, I hope, interesting and upbringing conversation that is come straight from my curiosity, but yet a pretty uplifting and necessary conversation we should have, involving science and spirituality, believe it or not. So let's just do it. So I'm gonna have to pull a big disclaimer right now about the fact that this conversation is going to revolve around my own thoughts. Okay, this is a theory, or I wouldn't even call it a theory. This is a possibility that is 100% fabricated in my head. Okay, this is something I think about, and I really wanna say that I like sharing it with people. Every time I have the opportunity with a friend or a student, I go about it. And people say this is an interesting theory. Some of them, they agree with me. They say, yeah, this is probably true. And some of them say this is probably not true. I'm okay with both feedbacks, but just I must say that. That out of our way, let us take a look at what our my big buddy and co-host in this very podcast, ChatGPT, has told me when I asked him about this possibility. I'm gonna read, so quotes for Chetty, my buddy Chetty. Where is it? Here it is. Well, cloning a human being is theoretically possible, but ethically and legally complex. The process would involve somatic cell nuclear transfer, SCNT, where the nucleus of a somatic body cell is transferred into an egg cell and that has had its nucleus removed. This technique was used to create Dolly the sheep in 1996, the first successfully cloned mammal. Pretty complex, but I can get the gist of it. We can get the gist of it, right? Challenges of human cloning. He numbered the challenges. Challenge number 1, scientific and technical challenges. Cloning is inefficient with high failure rates. Many cloned embryos fail to develop, and those that do often suffer from severe genetic defects. Clones may experience premature aging due to shortened telomeres, and as seen in Dolly the sheep. Okay, I think I can get the idea here, because, for example, basically the fact that clones age faster, it is known, right? Even in the soap opera I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, they did that. The guy was cloned, and then like 20 years later, he was looking like his original at age 46, for example, you know? So the fast aging is a known fact of cloning. At least that's the impression I have. And also that, well, it gets wrong a lot until it gets right. Okay? So you have lots of failure, you have lots of embryos that do not succeed in growing, etc. So yeah, makes sense. Second challenge, ethical and moral concerns. Cloning a human raises concerns about identity, individuality, and the rights of clones. There are fears about potential exploitation, such as cloning for organ harvesting or genetic manipulation. I would add an extra item here in the second challenge, cloning people to be slaves. Well, that will be a hell of a book, actually. Well, a hell of a story fictional story to be written. Maybe I should write a book about it. Think about it, guys. A evil or bad person or entity or group of companies or and very rich people, powerful people, cloning people to use in manufacturing jobs to use the labor force of human clones, saying, hey, they're not actual humans, they are clones, but maybe these clones have their feelings, etc. Well, which is something I am 100% sure that wouldn't happen, but that's what makes me feel like writing a fictional book about it, because I don't risk writing something today and 100 years later people saying that I had a pact with the devil because I managed to tell what in advance what would happen, you know. So yeah, anyways, this extra content possibility, I still added to the ethical and moral concerns. What if a George Soros guy, you know, decides to start cloning people to use their labor force? That wouldn't be nice, I guess. Challenge number 3, legal restrictions. Many countries, including the US, the UK, and most of Europe, have banned human cloning for reproductive purposes. Some countries allow, though, cloning for therapeutic purposes, for example, stem cell research, but prohibit cloning a full human. Current status. No verified cases of human cloning have been reported. Some scientists claim it is possible, but ethical barriers prevent serious attempts. While cloning animals is now routine, human cloning remains largely hypothetical. I'm gonna read it again. This is a very important line for my comments. While cloning animals today is routine, something normal, human cloning remains largely hypothetical. Okay, thank you so very much, ChatGPT, for your cameo in this episode. You guys know what a cameo is? I'm gonna spell it for you guys. CAMEO. It's a special feature. You know when there's a movie and then, I don't know, the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger from Rolling Stones pops up and says something, asks the time and something, and just walks away. This is a cameo, okay? So that's what ChatGPT has just done in this episode. A cameo. Actually, a special feature because it's words, right? The words of ChatGPT here being read. Okay, without further ado, let's just jump into it. Let's just start talking about the main purpose here, the main point here. Well, so it's a fact that animals have been cloned. First, Dolly the sheep, and then, I don't know, I stopped following, guys. I don't remember any other, I think there isn't any other famous cloned animal. Nevertheless, I really believe that the things we see in public are not alone. So what I'm trying to say here is that if in 1996 we had a Dolly clone, a Dolly the sheep clone, it means that probably lots of sheep died until they got that result. So what they showed to the public, to what they presented the world, was the successful result of their experiment. Okay? And why that? Because although we're talking about 1996, people were already talking about the animals' rights back in the days. So if someone would just publicly come and say, "Hey, we lost 100, we're losing all the sheep we're trying here. You know, they're dying. The clones are dying." But we're gonna keep following, and we're positive that sooner than later we're gonna have a 100% okay and functional sheep clone. Okay, hadn't they done that back in the day, say 1991, they would have in my opinion, guys, please don't take my words as a fact. I'm just theorizing here, but I really believe that if they would do that, they would have made lots of enemies, and they would have brought lots of obstacle in their way, which would probably delay the final results. And the Dolly the sheep would come not in 1996, but in 2001 maybe, or 2006. You got my point? So why am I saying that? Well, I'm saying that because as I open up saying that, we don't have a human clones, okay? So because we don't have a human clone, I tend to believe that two possibilities. One, it is virtually impossible to clone a human being, or B, they still haven't done that successfully in order to present that to the public, okay? Because it would be, well, as I said, I believe that the whole situation with the sheep or other animals would cause a big controversy in the world. What do you think about the same story, but instead of sheep, we have people? Yeah, you thought right. There will be big chaos, and all the companies with resources enough to come up with such thing, cloning, a human being cloning, are anything but stupid. So the reason why, as I said, I firmly believe that the reason why we haven't seen a company, a laboratory, I don't know, a company or some institution announcing that they're working in the human being's clone was because they haven't managed to do that successfully, or maybe they're still trying it. Because, well, this is another possibility that just came to me now. What if they have cloned a person, say in 2000? So this person is 24, 25 years old today. Wow. If we're talking about a human, it's much easier to track and follow the life of a sheep that lives, I'm gonna guess, 10 years, a sheep, right? Versus a human being who lives 80 years, 70 years, all right? Oh, there's the faster aging process. Okay, but even if you count that, say 30 years, 40 years, so maybe they're still waiting. Okay, that's another possibility, in fact. But let's talk about the other possibilities. They have the technology, but it's not the other possibility is that they have it. They are getting there. They're making progress, but they're not announcing that publicly. Okay, to avoid all the problems that I mentioned before. So this is it. And now I want to hear your opinion. Okay, I would really like you to write down what you think about it. If my theory makes sense, I still haven't talked about my main theory, and the possibility that makes more sense to me. I'm gonna do it right now. Well, as I said, I believe in the spirit. I believe our consciousness is nothing but the divine thing that the one who created us all put in us and connected it with our body, with our legs, with our arms, and all the nerves of our body. In other words, spirit. I believe we are spirit. Our essence is spirit. Maybe you don't believe that. I totally respect you. It's okay, not a problem. I still wanna read your opinion. Just let me know. But yeah. But if my theory, mark my words, atheist, if you're listening to it, I'm saying if, all right, bro? If my theory, my perception of the world, if the spiritual perception of the world is correct, it should not be, it doesn't have to be 100% correct. If it is 15% correct, 20% correct, it would be virtually impossible to have a human clone unless the other side would authorize. Well, I don't want to go over what is the rational system behind the curtain. By the curtain here, I mean the curtain that separates the world of the living ones and the world of the dead ones. I have a few theories, but totally not material for this episode. But this should be something, okay? This should be a condition. Other than that, a body created in laboratory would never have life. It could have everything. We still haven't technology to create a synthetic human, like 100%. We can create a shell, like something that looks like a human, but deep down, the nerves, all, we're still far from it. And I don't think we will ever be there, to be honest. At least not in the next 1,000 or 2,000 years. So this would, if this theory is at least 20% correct, it would make it 100% impossible for human beings cloning, okay? What about the animals, Gary? Do you believe animals have spirit? Well, I do, but certainly not the same kind of spirit, okay? Certainly not, because, so we have Dolly the sheep, and we have Dolly the sheep clone, all right? There's no way to verify. I mean, maybe there are. No, because, I would say that, what if we track the memories of Dolly original and see if the memories got passed into the clone, right? But no scientist, no one would ever expect that, because deep down we're talking about a whole new brain with whole new experiences, so the experiences don't get transferred, right? And if the experiences going into this way right now, if experiences don't get extended from original body to the clone body, why would how can I put it, the personal characteristics, the consciousness, okay? Yeah, and here's the thing with animals, they don't have consciousness, okay? So for this reason, it's much easier to clone them. Because if we clone a human being, this other, in the spiritual world, what I believe about the spiritual world would be at least 20% accurate. This second being should be a different consciousness, with different propensions, okay? Of course, with different memories, because it would grow up in a different environment. No matter how much scientists would try to recreate the environment where the original was born and raised, it is virtually impossible to do that minimally, okay? Let alone fully. So they wouldn't even bother, So for a fact, the clone would have a different upbringing. That's the correct word. When you were raised, you had your upbringing, and consciously and naturally different memories and maybe different habits. But spiritually speaking, if was the same spirit, it should have the same propensions, okay? Because this is one thing, guys. I really believe that we are born with propensions, with some gifts. That's why your cousin is very good at playing the guitar and you're not so much, no matter how much how much effort you put into it. That's why some people are more talkative, some people are more introvert, etc., okay? So the consciousness would or would not get transferred to that human being, And if the consciousness of the original would not be transferred, and say the clone would wake up, or would grow up and start crying as a baby and then grow up and getting older and start talking, etc., I would ask, who is that? Okay, I get it, guys. Skeptical and atheist people listening to me right now. It would be the proof that spirits don't exist, right? Well, maybe that would be a big sign. That would have me asking questions. Okay, not that I don't ask questions because I have faith. Of course, faith does not preclude me from asking questions, no matter how sharpened they are towards our common sense, our spirituality, common sense. But what about the other way around? Because the truth of the matter, we haven't seen human being clones around. Okay, so what if the right reason, the precise reason why we haven't seen them, or in other words, why scientists, whoever they are, wherever they are, however they could have done that. This is the very reason why it is not possible, because of our inner essence, that is our consciousness, even going even deeper, our spirit. Well, I said it would be a kind of a trip for you guys to think about. I really hope I have managed to do that. So leave your comments in the comments section below, and I thank you deeply for one more chat with you, for your company one more time. This is all for this episode. I see you in the next one. Bye.